But speaking of anime that we want more of, or that we might be getting more of, you said Fooly Cooly might be getting a remake?
Yes, so we got the news recently from Anime News Network that FLCL, the rights for that were acquired by Production IG. They co-produced the original show with Gainax, so they had some involvement before, but now they have the entire rights. If you don't know Production IG, if you're not familiar with studios, they did most recently Maria the Virgin Witch, Psycho Pass, Ghost in the Shell, Rise.
Yes.
So they've done like quite a few things that you probably know.
Yeah.
And they said that they will take advantage of those rights for a new anime remake and other ventures. So that's a pretty big deal. If you've never seen Fooly Cooly or FLCL, whichever you prefer to call it, it's a 6-episode anime that is amazing.
It's amazing. It's also bonkers.
Yeah, so
Like the first episode, I was like, what is happening in this show? But it's totally unique.
Absolutely. It has amazing art style. Like, that's one of the big notable things is the character designs. If you've ever seen a cosplay of a guy walking with a TV on his head, it's kind of from that. I mean, there's other things similar, but that's probably from where it's from. So it's based about this kid. It's a kind of a coming-of-age, weird puberty story about this kid. He's, like, messing around with his brother's ex-girlfriend, and it's just kind of weird and messing into, like, growing up and like how it's kind of weird when you don't have like a ton of guidance, and this girl comes into this kid's life saying like, hey, I'm an alien, I'm gonna crash with you, and here's all these government conspiracies and weird things that are going on, and you're gonna be in the middle of it now because I said so, kind of thing.
And he has a horn or something that grows out of his head, and it's
it's a pimple.
I thought you were gonna say something very different for a second.
Things
I'm
get
sorry.
kind of phallic sometimes, but I mean that's it's just a crazy wonderful show that is absolutely everywhere.
Yeah,
and
it's one of those hard to explain things. You just kind of have to watch it, and it's only 6 episodes long.
Like if you haven't seen it, it is available like everywhere. I think there's a dub on
less than 2 hours.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely watch it. It is 6 episodes. You have no excuse. It'd just be really interesting to see what they make of that, if they want to remake it as just in the original 6 episodes, redoing that, or if they would expand on the universe. Personally, I'd like them just to like update the art, like clean it up and remaster it. I think that would be something I'd like to see. I get kind of defensive of shows that were really good. And when
I'm trying to think of what they could clean up, but there's not a whole lot with Fooly Cooly that is wrong in the first place.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic show, and I don't see what they would want to do more to add to it. They also came out with a manga for Fooly Cooly, but it just basically recaps the show. Yeah. It's kind of one of those things like, well, the show came first, and then they made the manga.
Yeah, I'm afraid that they'd be, they would try to extend it and have like a Monster of the Week kind of thing or something.
Yeah,
and I'd be worried about that.
Or even like continuing the show would be a little weird for me. It's just like some things just end really well, and you're like, that was it. Like, do not mess with this anymore unless there's some way you can top it, like, which is hard to do. Yeah. And also kind of messes with your memories of like what it was or what it what it is right now, and it's like you don't need to do that. Just stop. Like with freaking Toy Story, there's another one. Like seriously? I mean, it's completely unrelated, but it just came down to like whenever I think of that, it's like Toy Story 3 had like I think a really solid ending. Like we felt like finally we can like leave these characters stop.
You cry for a while.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, but we're gonna do a Toy Story 4. It's like, really?
No,
we're not done.
There's money to be had.
Oh man,
yeah, of
so
course.
many subsequent trilogies they can do.
Yeah, so
just like video games.
It was nice because like you don't see that kind of restraint with shows when it's like, hey, we're gonna do 6 episodes and they're gonna be amazing. Yeah, and that's what happened. I don't want them to, toy with that too much.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, there was I had to rewatch Ghost in the Shell for History of Awesome, and I refused to watch like the 2.0 version. I was like, no, I don't want my memories messed with. I want to watch the 1995 version of Ghost in the Shell because I don't see how you can improve on it, even with better CGI and whatnot. It is very much its own time. And so I know a lot of shows are going back and like, oh, well, we'll update the graphics or we'll update the animation, and I'm like, unless you do it super super well, I would just leave the classics alone.
Right. I mean, like we see that with Evangelion right now, and that's quite older than FLCL, which is FLCL came out in like 2010, 2009, 2010, so it's not that old. Whereas Evangelion's
like 1990s.
Yeah, way older. I mean, way older. And I think they've been doing a pretty good job with it, and they're also kind of restraining themselves by doing a film format instead. And I mean, that's the other flip side. Is like, hey, they're doing this and they're doing it really well, but they're changing the story. Like, they're keeping the base. Like, the first movie is pretty much the first few episodes of the anime, and then the second movie is where it starts to diverge. And from what I've seen, like, it's doing really well and people really like it, and it's kind of a cool resurgence. Like we were saying, if like I guess episode 19 that we'd want to see more of Revolutionary Girl Tenna or something, and see that come back. And it's also the question, like, do you want more or do you just want the same thing, like, giving back? I mean, it's hard.
It's a case by case basis.
Yeah, it's hard.
Well, it kind of depends, like, on the universe, on how the original story was told.
Yeah.
I mean, when you guys say to me that this series was a 6-episode series, to me that sounds like the equivalent of a short story.
Right.
So you can sometimes do short stories that are loosely connected to each other, right? But continuing a short story and trying to turn it into, say, like a novella is weird.
That is weird, yeah.
So
I guess we'll see. Let us know what you guys think. And hopefully, if you haven't watched Really Coolly, go check it out.
Yes, go watch it right now.